You are listening to Mushing on First Paw Media. Visit our website at mushing.com.
Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Robert, and I am back home at the Mushing Magazine headquarters in Willow, Alaska, and sitting next to me is Michelle, and calling in from Susitna Dog Sled Adventures, Roan Booser. Roan, how's it going today?
It's going good. Doing great. We just got, I think, like 3 or 4 inches of snow throughout last night and into today, so we're loving that. For this winter, that feels like an incredible amount of snow. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Yeah, we just got a little bit of a dusting here. Michelle, how's it going in your neck of the woods?
It's crazy as always, but it's been a great day. I got to spend some time doing 3 of my 3 jobs.
Hey, you got to wear all the hats, that's for sure. That's why we have this hat rack right here. So let's jump right into this. If you're under a rock somewhere and you're an Iditarod fan, you probably already know that we have a new champ in the house. About 3-ish in the morning was Jessie Holmes. I happened to be there. I had no idea how crazy it was going to be at 3 o'clock in the morning in Nome. I walked down a little bit ahead of time from my hotel thinking, there'll be people here, but there won't be people here. And it was so deep that I couldn't even really find a good spot to get any pictures. Unfortunately, if you're not one of the special people in the media, and that is the Insider Crew, Channel 2, the Nome Nugget, and I think Alaska Public Media, you cannot be in the shoot. So you have to stand off to the side like the quote-unquote lay people. And that's where I was. So I didn't even bother because every picture I would have had would have been somebody's head. But there are plenty of pictures of Mr. Holmes out there. And we're going to talk a little bit about him in a little bit. Matt Hall came in about 6 a.m.-ish. Then we had Paige Drobny come in, and then we had Michelle Phillips come in since our recording right now. On his way from safety to Nome is Bailey Vitello, followed by Travis Beals is about 35 miles behind him. 15 miles behind Travis is Ryan. Neck and neck with Ryan is Mitch, followed by Millie is at mile 71 to the finish. Riley Dyke is 71 as well. So all these guys are in White Mountain. Nick Petit, 71. Matt Failer is a little bit back there at 118. Anna Barrington is about 15 miles behind Matt. Laurel Eklund is only a mile behind Anna. And we got a few more here. Jason Mackey, a little bit behind him. Samantha Lalonde, Emily Ford, Keaton Lobrecht, Calvin Doherty, Connor McMahon, Eb, as Roan said last night, Dane Baker, and Jenny Rodewig is at mile 242. So she has left. Is that left Uniclete, Roan? 242?
Yes, I think I looked and yeah, she's on her way. She's actually about halfway between Uniclete and Checktuit.
Okay, so we have everybody on the last third of the race now, or on their way, of course, into Nome. So things are looking pretty good there. Like we said, Bailey Vitello should be the next one in. I don't think he will be in while we're recording, but within a few hours, he should be there because it's only 25-ish or so miles from safety to Nome. Before we jump into our stories, we do have to make a quick correction. Jenny Rodewig, her followers, I don't know if it's her parents or her husband or a significant other or whatever. If you remember last night, they made a post saying that all of her drop bags were stolen and she did not have a way to continue. Well, we felt a little bit of that by a post from Iditarod on our post, and they said, hey, if you're going to spread information talking to the kennel, you ought to change the information that is updated. So it is our understanding that I think it was 4 bags were missing, and 2 were still there. But an interesting note, I believe it is her dad, and it could be her husband. I'm not sure because I don't know these guys very well. The interesting note to this is they sent out a small care package to Jenny via mail, and then they delivered that by post office, and then the folks in Caltag delivered that to the checkpoint. And when they did that, they put it on top of her drop bags. And I think why these people are so upset is because that little care package was missing. So evidently they've even contacted the troopers and carrying it on. So I don't know the rest of the story.
It must have been valuable.
Well, I mean, maybe we can talk to Roan about this in just a second. But I don't know the full depth of this story. And as all of you guys know, we do not spread rumor here. We only report what we read on specific Facebook pages by the families or followers, or the news from Iditarod. So that's where we're at with that. So hopefully something comes of it. Hopefully it was not stolen. It was just misplaced. But let's jump into that for just a second, Roan. In the times that you've been out on Iditarod, did you ever get a little care package from someone?
Yeah, and it's something that there is a rule. I think there's a rule about. I'm pulling it up right now. So as far as like getting care packages or having someone from your kennel send things out, my understanding of the rule was always that you couldn't have your buddy with a bush plane drop off supplies for you in the checkpoint. But as long as it was a service that was available to everyone, meaning if you could get an expedited shipping company to mail something to the checkpoint, CO, Iditarod, and have it waiting for you in the drop bag, that was okay. I think Mitch Seavey this year was had some post. I didn't actually read the post. My wife was telling me about it, but a post about one of the air carriers not getting his stuff out on the trail where he wanted it, and so in that case, it's something that mushers can have gear sent as long as it's a service that's not that's available to everyone. So in this case, like you said, the postal. Did you say the postal service?
I think so. I think that's what the post said.
So the the postal service sent it CO Iditarod, and then it should have been waiting there, and it's not. So that's that's a big deal. But it's one of those things that maybe it should have been sent in the drop bags. I know it's maybe would be. Yeah, I don't know the details of it, other than I know it does happen where like teams will send care packages out, but it's kind of like the pizza thing. The pizza on Earth pizza it's available to everyone, so it's not outside assistance to get a pizza sent to a musher, because anybody, the mushers themselves could call in and order a pizza and have it waiting for them in Unity. It's not just Pizza on Earth. It's not like, okay, well, I'll cook a pizza for Bailey, but I'm not going to cook one for Jessie because I like Bailey and not Jessie, sort of thing.
So in your little care package, was there something special?
It was actually a piece of equipment that it was a broken cooker. So I had a broken cooker shipped out with one of the courier services to be replaced. Basically, it was waiting in my my backup sled, but it was something that got shipped out. And then I had a functional cooker, a cookpot, but my cookpot was leaking, so I had that sent out on the trail.
Dang! So nothing cool like a Snicker bar or something like that. But hey, at least you got it. Hopefully something comes of this, and there's not a hamburglar out there picking off people's drop bags and check care packages there. So let's jump into our first story.
You aged us with that.
I know. Since we're celebrating gnome finishes, we briefed Roan on this ahead of time last night, and I will be the first to tell you, he told me the answer to this story when I sat down with him and his wife Alyssa last year for our Mushing magazine interview. So hopefully he has thought a little bit about this and can provide some context to this question. So here we go. So Roan, you grew up in the Mushing family. Everybody knows your dad has run so many Iditarods in his day. I'm sure you were there at the arch as a young kid, waving dad in and give him the hug and all that sort of stuff. And of course, finishing the race has to be special for a dad when he sees his wife and kids or significant others at the arch. So we do know that you are an Iditarod veteran, and you have crossed under that arch at least a couple of times. I don't remember exactly how many. You can let us know that in a second. But I want you to tell us what that is like. You were telling us last night about, okay, you come up on Cape Nome, you can see the lights, you can, you see the cop car pull up when you pull off the ice. You gave us the flavor of coming into Nome, but you did not tell us about the emotion, the experience of, you've just been on this race for a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it took you. You're exhausted probably. You're probably hungry, probably need a shower. Tell us what it's like to finally cross under that arch and what happens in that first 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. Give us the flavor from a finisher's perspective.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're talking about the emotion of it, and that's something that I'm trying to think about it. And one of the things that for me when I get to the finish line of a race, and it's funny because I actually read a spouse of, I'm assuming an Iditarod musher, has an anonymous Facebook post where they kind of post memes and I don't know, just a controversial kind of satire type account. I don't know exactly who it is, but anyway, they made a post about how they felt bad for Jessie because he was greeted by the Iditarod CEO with a handshake, and they felt bad because he didn't have a spouse there giving him hugs and stuff like that. And my thoughts about that are, when I finish a dog race, I want to go hug my dogs. I mean, the people, everybody that's, I got plenty of time for the people in my life, but the dogs are the ones that just went down the trail with you. And, those are the ones who, you deserve to give the biggest and the warmest of hugs to. So when people get to the finish line and they're all, hugging everybody and shaking hands, and it's like, man, I just want people to get in my way. I want to go pet the dogs. I want to go hug the dogs and tell them how proud I am of what they just accomplished and what we just accomplished. So for me, I mean, the like all the people, that's kind of like, oh, hey, I just want to be back on the trail at some point. So I don't know. I'm sure Jessie was pretty stoked to just, right after the finish, give his dogs a big hug and say, yeah, we did it, guys. Yeah, we're, just super proud of the team that he put together and the team that he trained and what they did. Winning the Iditarod, that's something that was, his focus, and his team just gave it 110% for years, really. And that's, something to share with, the definitely with the people in your life. But, I mean, the dogs are the ones that, got you there.
All right. So obviously you're hugging the dogs and giving a high five or a fist bump. And I did see that post there, and somebody said something on there like, Nordman or whoever that was. I don't know if it was Nordman or the other guy, but just gave him a fist bump, and they said, hey, you that's as much as you get of doing a layup at a high school football game or something like that, a basketball game. So let's talk a little bit about what happens afterwards. So you're done. The dogs are now rested. You're probably exhausted. What's happening during that first day of Nome? Are you crashing within an hour? How long are you out? Are you heading over to the bar to have a celebratory beer? What's happening?
Well, I mean, I ran my first Iditarod when I was 18, so that was not an option. Generally, you finish, you cross the arch, you get all the high fives, the hugs, the loving on the dogs, the loving with your loved ones, and but really then after that, for me, it's kind of just, okay, another checkpoint routine of you get the dogs settled in, you get them fed, get them resting. You're still taking care of the dogs. I mean, it's kind of hard to get out of that trail mode if you've been doing that on and off, going down the sled for a few hours, resting for a few hours, taking care of the dogs. So even after you finish, when you have people there to be like, okay, I'll take care of the dogs, and you go get some sleep. I'll sleep a little bit, or try to sleep a little bit. Then in a few hours, you kind of wake up like, okay, I gotta go out to the dogs again, because that's just your body is
Your
in
routine.
that kind of a rhythm. Yeah, and so you sometimes have a hard time like taking a long sleep immediately after for a while before your body resets into that normal kind of day night type of rhythm.
And
so yeah, you're definitely ready to get some sleep. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you'll get a good few hours of sleep. I don't know what it was for me the last time, or what it'll be for me the next time, but at some point in that sleep, you probably wake up and say, oh, okay, I gotta take care of this. Oh no, okay, I got people that are doing that. Okay, go back to sleep. But yeah, it takes a while to kind of get out of that trail rhythm of short rests or short periods of sleep and a lot of activity with the dogs.
so a lot of people know that if you get in with a few days to kill before the banquet, almost always your dogs are already at home at that point. I mean, if you get there on a Wednesday or a Thursday or whatever, the dogs fly home, and then you are there for your banquet commitment. And I believe there is a rule that says if you are a finisher, you do have to go to the banquet. Is that right, Roan?
I believe so. I think you have to go to the banquet to get your any kind of
check.
check. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's all happening. So you might have a day or two, whatever, to hang out there, and then after it's all over, your Iditarod's commitment is done. You fly home either that Sunday night or probably Monday, and then it's life as usual. And I've heard many a time where, and I think Dallas was pretty prominent with this. He said, "Well, I got my check, and within a day or two." I deposited it, and I bought a pallet or whatever he said of dog food, and it was spent within that first week. I'm paraphrasing, but that's sort of how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the Iditarod is kind of the culmination for a lot of teams of the season, of the the goal for most teams that sign up for Iditarod is that's your race. That's what you focus and what you train and kind of practice on, or practice for all season. So once you're done with that, I mean, yeah, there's the Kobuk 440. That's a race in early April. So a few weeks later, if you still want to get back out on the trail, you can go do the Kobuk. But generally, Iditarod is kind of the focus point, and then after that, it's like, okay, well, what do we do from here? And if you had a really good run, you're probably going to look back and say, okay, this is kind of what I did. If you're focused on competing again the next year, okay, this is what worked for me. You kind of try to think of how the race went while everything's still fresh in your mind. Okay, this worked, this didn't work. Maybe I can improve in this area. I think that's why a lot of mushers will write up a synopsis of their race, and a lot of times now people will post that on their kennel pages. It's kind of a cool way of following certain mushers' kind of thought processes or how their run went. But yeah, you kind of think of what worked, what didn't work, kind of think towards next year for the teams that was like their big goal. And like you said, doing one Iditarod, and then okay, that's it. We kind of did the most challenging thing you can do with the dog team, and what do you do from there? It's like, well, I don't know. You just go run your dogs for fun. I mean, for us, it's like, okay, well, we go back to our day job and run some tours and just that sort of thing. But yeah, it's kind of it always, I think, after you get off the trail, it leaves kind of a part of you gets left out there and kind of calls you back. That's something that it took me a lot of years to really kind of wrap my brain around. Just doing the Iditarod as a young kid, it maybe ruined me for the rest of the world, because it's like, wow, that's something that, I just want to go back and do it again. It's something that's challenging, but that's the challenge is what makes you feel like, accomplished, and what makes you feel like you're doing something worth doing, because, doing something easy, that's easy, but doing something hard, when you do something hard, you get this feeling it's hard to express in words, and that's something that, that's what kind of calls people back to the Iditarod Trail year after year after year.
That's exactly what we're looking for. That color commentary that you just provided. So really appreciate that. And speaking of which, when I was speaking to Roan and Alyssa, they were talking about, well, Roan is going to do Iditarod next year. He's got to get back out so folks know who he is again. So he wanted to do this podcast to introduce some folks to him. And a heck of a lot of people have been giving some props to Roan's first podcast experience. And I've been shooting him over the reviews and stuff like that. And I was talking to one of them. I never know who I'm talking to because I'm sending it to the Facebook message. But I am going to put a call out to all of Roan's new fans on the podcast to shoot over some comments about how he is doing. He would love to read those. He would love to share those with his fans. And we're going to ask you guys to do that. So whatever social media platform you are on, go check it out. Leave a comment on his social medias. All of that is on the show notes. So Roan, thank you for sharing that. Michelle, do you have anything before I jump into the next story?
Roan, do you already have a sponsor for your Iditarod run?
I don't currently.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be your first sponsor.
Mushing Magazine.
All right.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. We'll talk off air. We were talking about sponsoring some athletes.
You see how I did that, Roan? Robert had no idea.
I had no idea. So we'll talk offline. I'm not sure what we can offer since, hey, I was just put on the spot here literally 30 seconds ago. But yes. So we'll continue on with that. Thank you for that offer, Michelle. Let's move on. We're going to talk about another very cool story out there. If you've been following us for the last few weeks, or Facebook, or just the Iditarod fandom in general, you know about a family out there doing some cool stuff. They've been doing things really over the top for the last few years. The Robinson family, Wally, Stanley, Emily, and Alyssa. Is it Alyssa?
Yes.
Alyssa is back home holding down the fort.
She's providing all of the information.
She is. It looks like that these three guys and girls who have been out on the trail together since right the day before Iditarod. I think they launched on Saturday of Iditarod time, so the ceremonial start day. They are going to be coming into Nome right now.
No,
here.
They didn't. They launched the day in between.
Yeah, on Sunday.
Yeah.
So they're coming into Nome probably around the time of Bailey. They have, I think they were both in safety very very close to the same time. These guys were not doing Iditarod. They just pretty much said, well, I won Junior Iditarod for the 4th time. I think there's something else that we need to do. We're going to go ahead and pack up a sled and head on down to Nome. And that's what they did. So very cool.
They ran it as her serum run.
As her serum run.
Or their serum run.
And provided a lot of very cool commentary. And I did not know this until 5 minutes before recording, but there is another crew out there, 2 Iditarod champions, your Leifsef Olsson and Thomas Werner, I believe is how you say it correctly, and a client, maybe a client or two, I'm not sure exactly of the specifics. They are running their own run down the trail. It looks like they are currently in Ruby, and as Nate Titus says, he is a big-time volunteer, works search and rescue in the Yukon River region. He said, my God, these guys are carrying everything but the kitchen sink. These guys are traveling in style. But the reason I bring these up, number one, those 2 guys are Iditarod champions. Number 2 is Q-Paws. Krill Pets was the name of the company. A few years ago, had an excellent idea of how to really bring the Iditarod to the next level. And I think they had a lot of excellent ideas. And then that was right before COVID. And then everything changed, of course. I mean, they had this kind of sports center desk. I remember Dallas was there at the Bear Grease, and they had this commentary and flashy graphics and all of this very cool stuff, at least from a fan's perspective, that would have been awesome. But now
It really did fill a void.
yeah, it did. I think it was very cool. But now these guys are doing their entire run on their app. It's the Q-Pause app. I downloaded it yesterday on my iPhone. I'm sure it works on Android phones as well. But go check this out. It is not Iditarod, but you will know a couple of the names. Yor won it just a few years ago. Did he win before or after Thomas, Roan? Do you know?
I believe he won in 2018.
And
so
when did
Thomas won it in 2020? So he won on the COVID year. He got stuck over here in Alaska for a number of days and had to charter a plane to get his team back to Norway.
Yes, I remember that. It was a heck of a chore because literally the world was shut down and he had no idea when he was going to get back. And he hasn't been, at least in the Iditarod, he has not been back since, because I would imagine that's a heck of a deal to come over, and do that and then worry about if you're going to get home in time. I know we do have a couple of other folks that came over. Ebb, as you call him, is he here now or did he fly over? Do you know?
I believe he flew. I'm not sure. I know he ran a team for Turning Heads Kennel in the Kinnick 200, so that was early January, I believe. So he's been here since January.
So he's been here all winter. He isn't one of those guys that either drives up from the lower 48 or flies over just a month or so ahead of time, like some of them have done in the past. So anyway, check these guys out. It was kind of hush-hush for a while, but there is a Roan connection to this that I did not know until tonight. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you help with this?
Yeah, so we actually have some of the dogs on the Q-Pause expedition are dogs from our kennel. So it's kind of fun to be connected with that. And we hadn't heard much from the expedition crew once we sent the dogs out. They let us know the dogs made it, and that was about it. And then they were posting on the app about the expedition. So I was like, oh, cool. We can share this with people on our social media. They're traveling from McGrath to Nome. So it's Thomas Warner is running one of the teams. And then the other guy, Mats Johansson, is a CEO of a Norwegian company. So those two guys, and he himself, Mats Johansson, has I guess run some races over in Norway. So he's an experienced dog guy. Thomas Warner, obviously Iditarod champion. So those guys are running a couple teams from McGrath to Nome. And yeah, I do know that they have a fair amount of logistical support. They have snow machine support. They have air support. They're like you said, doing it in style. And so that's pretty cool to have dogs from our kennel involved with that expedition trip. And it's a good way for our dogs to get a lot of experience being on the trail. Even though I'm not on the Iditarod Trail right now, I have some dogs out there, so it's awesome.
Yeah, that is cool. So they are in Ruby right now, so not even close to halfway. I don't know exactly when they left, but they're definitely not racing to get to Nome. So they're doing it fully expedition style. And
I just want to know, if they're doing it to the nines, did they bring along a private cook?
Well, I just saw their tent set up on the Yukon River, and I think I saw 4 or 5 of those big. They weren't Arctic ovens. They were kind of those ice fishing moon hut looking things with the windows and all that. It was pretty fancy for sure. So let's move on. Since I have been giving you guys a little bit of flavor of Nome, I flew out this morning on the morning flight from Nome, and I have a couple of interesting little tidbits. The first one is we were talking a lot about volunteer capacity, and there's been a lot of talk on social media about Iditarod not having enough volunteers to do their thing and all of that. Well, I was there waiting to fly out, and unless you live in Nome, you're kind of just stuck there at the airport for an hour or so before you leave. And there seemed to be a whole lot of volunteers flying out with me, and they were all wearing volunteer shirts and volunteer hats. So the interesting part to that is literally the finisher came in 3 hours or less before that, and all of those volunteers were already flying out. So that I found that interesting. I wonder why they were so fast to get out of there. That's kind of my question. And then secondly, and interestingly enough, and we've talked a lot about this, and this is a fan's concern, is a lot of people would love to hear the stories about other people other than the winners. And I fully understand the news cycle and all that, but also leaving was the entire crew from Channel 2, the quote-unquote official news source of the Iditarod. There was probably 6 or 7 or 8 of them flying out this morning with all of their camera gear and all of that. So I don't know if they just rolled up shop as soon as Jessie came in, because I was there, within a half an hour of when Matt came in. But I wonder why they do that. I guess because, hey, budgets are this way and that way, and you can't cover everything. And of course, we don't expect him to stay there till the end. But they truly covered the first musher, and they packed up their gear and left. So, Michelle, do you have anything to add to that, since we're sort of a little bit media adjacent?
Do you want me to read my thoughts I wrote the other day, or am I saving that for well after Iditarod?
Save it for well after. We don't want to get in trouble until we're done.
All right.
All right. Roan, what do you think? What do you think about people just sort of rolling up shop as soon as it's over? Whether it be volunteers, fans. The plane was packed. Volunteers, fans, media. What do you think?
I don't know. I guess it could be that the volunteers were there to get the dog lot ready and the finishing shoot ready, and maybe do some behind the scenes stuff ahead of time before the first teams come in, and then there's another group of volunteers that are there till the bitter end, basically till the last team leaves. So yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm not going to say. I know that the volunteers that help the race are definitely the backbone of Iditarod, because from the people just checking in time, so the checkers, the people helping set up checkpoints, the people helping put in the trail, and the veterinarians that are out there on their vacation time, basically just waking up at all hours of the night. There's a lot of volunteers that are really working hard to keep the Iditarod going. I don't know as far as okay, maybe some people volunteer to see the finishers, the winners finish the Iditarod, and then they're like, okay, I got to go back home to Tennessee. But yeah, as far as the media, I think that's kind of what it's like in today's day and age. They the media goes and reports, okay, we got the photo of the winning team, put it in the news, and kind of that's that. That's something that it's just another highlight. And today's, like you said, the news cycle, it happens so fast. It's like, okay, well, we got this. Where those same people that just took a photo of the Iditarod champion, maybe did an interview, maybe now they're going back to report on the high school basketball tournament or something like that. That's I don't know.
Yep,
media people are busy and got a lot going on.
It's definitely valid points for sure. And yeah, you're right with the volunteers. I can only imagine how many there are just in numbers, but I'm sure it's interesting to note that the same volunteers, the same guys that were doing, the volunteering stuff at the ceremonial start, most of those guys are not still here. They did their shift of whatever that is, whether it be a day or a week or whatever, because you got to remember how long ago the ceremonial start was. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. So that's a long time to volunteer for anything. Michelle?
I think it would be really interesting, since Iditarod does say that their backbone is their volunteers. I wonder why, though, they've never put on their website a list of their volunteers.
Thanking them.
Or even just do faces of the volunteers like they do faces of Iditarod. I know that Jeff Schultz will take pictures of anybody that's involved in Iditarod.
He does do volunteers.
Right. So I would love to see them give them their own page on the website so that we can kind of see how many volunteers are there. Who are they? What are they like? Maybe we get a little bio from them. And that would give people, I think, in my opinion, as a fan, a greater perspective of really kind of what goes into this. Like if it says, I'm going to call her out. If it says Tony Ryder is at the Campbell Crossing, whatever, because that's her normal, wherever she's been all those years, she says she's grown up there, right? If we figure out, okay, Tony is this checkpoint person and we think that's awesome and we're going to give $1 for that checkpoint because Tony's there working her butt off. That would be a way for them to generate additional funds.
Yeah, there's a lot to do for it. It was just interesting to see those two groups of people just literally there a couple of hours afterwards. Because obviously there are people still volunteering.
Well, are you going to own it then yourself?
What?
I'm going to call you out.
Oh, I left too.
You left.
I left too.
But
Your flight was already booked.
I will get you off the hook a little bit. You weren't there to see Jessie win. You were there for the Burled Arch.
Yep, that was our story, like Channel 2. So everybody has their motives, and that was ours for sure. And unfortunately, I was unable to get the coverage that I wanted for our 24 hours of Iditarod project because we waited and waited and waited and waited for the Iditarod to come in. And they were coming in after I already had a ticket. So I guess we'll have to go back next year.
Well, that's what you said too. You were like, it was pretty much dead until the afternoon that Jessie was coming in.
Yep.
And then like everybody showed up, but then everybody left.
Yep. It's interesting. It's interesting how it works. I would imagine that Nome is one of the busiest airports in Alaska. On those couple of days before Iditarod and a couple of days after. I can only imagine how crazy it is on that Sunday night of after the banquet. They have that special flight that they do because they typically don't do one later in the evening. I bet that place is just a madhouse. And if you do not know about the Nome Airport, it is about the size of a Greyhound bus station. It is not very big at all, so you can only hold just enough people there for sure. So let's move on. I have one other story, and it's sort of Iditarod adjacent, and that is the Iditarod Trail Finishers. And I got the chance to sit next to one of these guys on my flight home. He finished yesterday. It took him 17 days and some hours to do the entire trail on a fat tire bike. And he finished with his buddy, and I think a lot of them came in yesterday. They were hanging up the banners and stuff just in time for them to come in under the arch there. Rowan, I'm going to ask you first. What do you think about those crazy people riding a bike or skiing or
Very
walking?
adventurous, Robert.
They are. What do you think about those dudes that are doing this 1,000 miles on a bike?
Yeah, that's an impressive feat. I know that the bikers are generally the fastest. Most years, I think almost always, because usually by the time they get to the coast, it's wind blown enough. There's kind of hard packed snow for enough sections to where the bikers can really, shift gears and get some good speed. I've actually been not in a maybe I might have been going down the Yukon River once on my rookie year, and it was like 37 degrees, hot day, kind of soft trail. The dogs weren't going super fast. I think I might have got passed by some bikers. I might have passed some bikers. I don't know if I'm misremembering. I know I've gotten passed by bikers on a training run before. People riding fat tire bikes. You can gear down and go like 15, 20 miles an hour sometimes. And yeah, they passed me while I was out on a training run. I was like, man, these guys on bicycles are passing my whole dog team. That's kind of wild. But yeah, the bikers, the skiers, and the walkers, the people that just are runners, they kind of walk, jog, run the trail. I mean, that's pretty pretty incredible feat, and to do it in, not that much more substantial a time. I don't know if they did the whole Caltech, the whole loop through the southern portion of the Yukon Trail, or the Iditarod Trail, but I think they start in Big Lake, I believe is where they start, or Willow. So they do the tradition. I think they did the traditional route, but I could be wrong on that. But I think it's the Iditarod Trail Invitational, right?
Yep. And they usually have a couple of different classes. So they'll usually, on a normal year, and I don't know enough about it, but I know that there is a run that they do to McGrath, so like a 300-mile run. And then there may be another run, like a run to Unaclete or something like that. And then there's those guys that do the whole deal. So very impressive. What most impressed me is if they did the entire route, they were only 7 days behind the finisher on the dog team. So the dog team came 10 days and some hours, and these guys were 17 days and some hours. Michelle, anything else?
Oh, we have a lot still.
Oh, my goodness. Roan, before we get into the Musher profile, do you have anything else you want to add on this kind of championship Friday?
No, I think you guys did a good job of covering it. Pretty good.
All right, so we are going to talk about the new Iditarod champ on our Musher profile, Jessie Holmes.
And then we have a new segment.
Oh, the trail notes or whatever.
Trail trivia.
Trail trivia. Okay. Go for it.
Inspired by Libby Riddles.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, as you guys know, Jessie Holmes brought it home. So the star of Life Below Zero wins the longest Iditarod sled dog race in its history, marking his first ever first place finish. Currently employed as a carpenter and TV personality, Jessie resides, it says in Nenana, as a subsistence dweller. But I know that he is actually living in Brushcana off of the Denali Highway. So, Jessie, for fun, likes to hunt, fish, and ultra marathon run. So I'm wondering if he will try the Iditarod Trail Invitational next. So let's go. Jessie has 40 sled dogs. He runs his dogs on a remote trap line sometimes. And he arrived in Alaska in 2004. He has participated in numerous sprint and distance races. And because of his passion for the outdoors and dogs, he became interested in Iditarod. He took home the title of Rookie of the Year in 2018 after finishing 7th the year before and winning in 2017 the Kobuk 440, which I found interesting. A couple years back, Robert and I got to spend some time with Jessie at the ISDRA conference doing, of all things, a pub crawl by hayride in Wisconsin. But I'll save that whole story for another night. Jessie was in my top 5 to win it, and although we don't dare jinx it by saying who we want to take it, I can now say I was rooting for Jessie.
Yeah, very cool. I have interviewed Jessie a few times on our podcast over the years. I remember when he was just getting started, I interviewed him, and he was still a little wet behind the ears, as they say. This was well before reality TV and all of that. I remember we were at Hugh Neff's place when I used to live in Tok, and he was there, and I was talking to him around a campfire. So very cool time to hang out with Jessie, including that pub crawl. We shared a fish dinner with him at some little pub in the middle of nowhere on some lake in Wisconsin. I might have bought him dinner. I don't remember.
That was our 5th pub.
Yeah. We were a little sloshed on the hayride.
Oh, come on,
But it was fun. He was there.
And if you look in our archives, I guarantee you we've spoken about that little story before.
Yep. So he was there to be a speaker as well as I, and it was fun to hang out with him at that time. Roan, do you know Jessie well?
I wouldn't say I know him well. I've chatted with him, maybe only once or twice actually. I know. Yeah, maybe the last time I talked to him was in 2015 actually on
Wow.
the when I was on the Iditarod Trail and he was living in Nenana. That was one of the years that I was running, and it went through Nenana, and he was, like you said, getting started, kind of building a team, and he had Iditarod dreams, and so we chatted for a few minutes while my team was resting there, and so it's kind of funny to see, 10 years later he's winning the Iditarod, so that's pretty neat. I think the sled that he won with, actually, you guys had talked about that expedition trip. They actually had done it a previous year, and I think in the Mushing magazine I talked about one of the Norwegian built sleds. I think that's a sled that I actually rode, kind of did a test drive on, was kind of raving about a little bit, in to you guys. I think I mentioned something about that, but so that's my claim to fame for this year. Is I think I've stood on Jessie Holmes' winning sled for a handful of miles.
So the sled he's using, was it built by you?
No, it was built by a Norwegian gentleman. The brand, the company is a very popular brand of sleds in Norway, or a sled builder in Norway. They're called Skonk sleds. Bailey Vitello is also running one. I think Aaron Burmeister has run one for a number of years. Lance had one. Lance Mackey had one in his last couple Iditarods. So it's a sled maker that's been making sleds for a long time. But they're nice sleds, and obviously good enough to win the Iditarod, so that's pretty awesome.
So and most people that are listening have no idea about sled tech. And I know that you also said that you typically like to build your own sled. So what makes this particular sled, since that was the sled that won Iditarod this year, that's a piece of tech, obviously, that had a piece of this win. What makes it special that these guys won it?
So the sled that I actually believe, now that I'm thinking of it, I think Thomas Warner won Iditarod with one of those same sleds. So, I mean, this guy should send me a sled. It basically it's very maneuverable, very steerable. So it's actually got little pulleys and cables that when you lean the handlebar one way or the other, it'll flex the runners so that it can steer basically around obstacles. So certain sections, like how people were talking about the really icy trench section of trail, if you have a very maneuverable sled, that you can just kind of lean to the left and steer around all the rough portion, or if you're in a side hill or in a crosswind, it's a way of putting together a sled that it would be pretty nice in very certain situations where it would be a lot more effort on the musher to keep the sled moving down the trail smoothly and efficiently. So I don't know, it's got pulleys and cables, and
very interesting.
It's a very, very techy sled, basically.
Okay, so just because we mentioned them, let's give them a little bit of credit. Their website doesn't really do much. It gives you their logo and their phone number and their address. So it's all in Norwegian. But their Facebook page is going to give them a little bit more justice and give people an idea of what their sleds actually look like. So if you go to Facebook, you want to go look at Skonk. That's SKONK. Sled Works. Skonk Sled Works. And then you can kind of look at their sleds and things like that.
Let me take a look real quick, Michelle. So, yeah, I've heard of these guys.
Don't go shopping.
I've heard of these
guys.
guys.
Go shopping.
It has that aluminum piece on the back. I saw a few of these on the trail this year. Is that a cooker, Roan, or is that just a storage box?
It's just a metal box.
Okay.
So it's just a box. You could put a cooker in it, though. I think that was one of the things that when Lance started running it, that was his idea, was that he could put his cooker in there because it's metal, and run the cooker and get the dogs a hot meal while he's moving down the trail. I know Jeff had something similar where the sit down portion of the sled that Jeff King was running was just, he literally just had his cooker kind of secured to the sled and then a little seat on it. So when the cooker was running, obviously you're not going to sit on it, but when the cooker was going, you just stand up and the cooker would be secure and making water for the dogs.
Well, I don't know. I might have found my new sled company. So
no shopping.
So before I stick my foot in my mouth again,
Ron just asked for one, and Mushing Magazine said we'd be his first sponsor. So I'm not sure.
All right, so let's jump over to your trail trivia that you're talking about.
Oh yes, let's do that. Right? Let's get these boys off of the shopping channel. All right, so trail trivia. Are you two ready?
I hope so.
I don't know. All right. My questions might be kind of hard. So, in honor of National Women's Month, who was the first woman to finish the Iditarod and in what year?
Roan, you want to go first?
Ooh, the first woman ever to win. Well, that's got to be sometime before I was born.
To
run.
To finish.
That's got to be before I was born.
Yeah.
So.
Of course it was.
Am I expecting?
Do you know? I know who it is.
I do not.
It's Mary Shields, 1973, 4. Okay. All right.
So yes, Roan, that was almost before I was
only.
born.
I was only 2.
Almost. I was 2.
Okay, go for it.
All right. So
that makes me feel better.
It took Shields 29 days to finish the race.
Oh my God.
She placed 23rd in the race, and Mary achieved the Women Who Dared Gratitude Award for daring to take on the Iditarod.
And if I remember correctly, she might have been the only woman.
No, there was another woman that finished just behind her.
Okay. Next one.
So, how many? And this one is specifically thanks to Libby Riddles, and she actually sparked this entire segment.
Okay, go for it.
How many mushers have finished in the top 5 of the Iditarod?
Oh my God, I don't know these stats. Roan?
Top 5. How many mushers? Top 5.
How many women have finished in the top 5? How many women have finished in the top 5 of the Iditarod?
Well, it's a few more this year.
Yep. Take a guess.
15.
Oh.
I'm going to say...
There's only 20 people. There's only 20 people or 30 people that have won the Iditarod.
I said finish.
I'm going to say 35.
In the top 5?
Yeah.
Women.
Well, does Dee Dee's runs count more than one?
Not how many times.
Oh, okay.
You guys are overthinking the questions.
5.
Such men. Okay.
I'm not good at trivia.
So it's 7 women have finished in the top 5. Libby Riddles, Susan Butcher, Allie Zirkle, Jessie Royer, Dee Dee Jeanro, Paige Drobny, Michelle Phillips.
Okay. Yep.
So thank you to Libby Riddles, and also thank you to Vern Halter.
Okay.
All right. So who took the first red lantern, and how many days did it take to finish?
Roan, I have no idea.
Notes.
Who?
Alex Tatum.
Ooh.
Ah.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. Oh, scroll down too far. John Schultz.
Oh, you're cheating.
I said it's an open note.
Who is it?
John Schultz. And
what year is that?
Delta Junction, 73.
Okay.
The first red, did they have a red lantern?
Yes.
You didn't say if it was open notes or not.
Oh my gosh. He got the first red lantern, and how many days did he do it in since you're cheating?
32 days, 5 hours, 9 minutes, and 1 second.
Right. Is that
over
crazy?
a month on the trail?
Yeah. Tell me that's not crazy. All right.
We talked about those volunteers that had taken.
I can go faster so he can't find the answer.
He's taken the volunteers are taking a week off to volunteer.
Okay.
This guy's spent a month out there.
You guys will like this one.
How many of these do you have?
5.
Okay, this is number 3.
What is the largest number of mushers to finish a single race, and when?
Oh, I know. That's 2008.
How many?
I think. To finish,
I'm going to
don't
say
know that.
74, and I don't have notes.
That was going to be my guess exactly as well.
Oh, 78.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Nice job, guys.
What was
I
the
don't know.
number that started though? It was
I don't know. I
here,
think
I'm
it was
looking
like
up.
80.
He's looking it up. Go to the next one.
Okay.
We have 70. Wait, this says 78 finished that year. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what you said. We guessed 74. Okay.
Yes.
Let me
Okay.
count.
Hold on. Let him have the answer. Or what was the number of entries, Roan?
He's looking. We need the
18
music.
18 additional, so that's 96. In
96.
2008, yeah.
Okay.
So that was the year they capped it at 100 teams because they had actually I think over 100 teams signed up, and then a couple of them didn't start, and then the next year they were like, well, we need to have a limit for the race course goes across a couple BLM federal lands, so they have to have a permit to go through those sections. So they said, okay, capped at 100 teams, but that's never happened.
Hold on, Roan. Do you think it is at all foreseeable that we would ever get up to that again?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't think that in today's modern world, there's that many people that want to dedicate so much time and effort to raising and training a team of dogs. So it's something that there's. I mean, if you look at the list of in the early mid 2000s, I mean, there's tons of people running Iditarod and just nowadays there's only a few people that are that crazy.
Yeah, and we're not this guy that did it in like 32 days either.
No, well, the climate has really changed
It has.
for all kinds of things surrounding the sport.
Okay, last question.
Last question. Roan, put away the notes.
All right.
Okay. I trust you. All right.
I'm not looking.
You should know this one. I hope your dad's listening tonight.
Oh no, it's his dad?
Who was the first musher to break the 8-day record, and in what year, and bonus if you know the exact finishing time?
Oh, like the first 8-day Iditarod?
The first one to break the record.
Under 9 days?
8 days, and he actually broke it
Yeah,
twice. He bettered his record. That's the time I'm looking for.
Ooh.
Is that your dad?
Well, no, that's my dad had the first 8-day Iditarod. I know that one. I mean, it was just under 9 days, but I think technically Dallas won the 2021 Gold Rush Loop in 7 days and 15 hours, I think, something like that.
Okay.
But that's not the normal Iditarod course, so I don't know if that counts as a record.
You're overthinking it.
What's the answer, Michelle?
Let's help him out. All right, so I'm going to reread the question. Who was the first musher to break the 8-day record, and in what year, and bonus if you know the exact finishing time? So, according to Iditarod.com, in 2002, Martin Boozer
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
broke the previous record again, running the first 8-day race and crossing the finish line in 8 days, 22 hours, 46 minutes, and 2 seconds. It says that he broke Jeff King's record, and then he bettered his own record, breaking it a second time under 8 days.
Yeah,
That's what it said.
I think my dad ran the first 10-day Iditarod.
Yeah.
And then it was I think it was Jeff ran the first 9-day Iditarod.
Yeah.
And then my dad ran the first 8-day Iditarod or something like that.
They were going back and forth at it for a while there.
I did overthink that.
Another piece of trivia there just about your dad. Did he have any consecutives wins?
No, he didn't.
Oh.
See, I put that question in there because I wanted him to have a sure win, but then
Okay. All right. Well, Roan, with the he's from that generation where he has everything at his fingertips, even though we're sitting here at computers. It looks like Roan won the trivia challenge. Okay, so let's continue on. Roan, do you have anything else?
Finally won trivia night.
Yes. Do you have anything else to report about where folks are.
Well, it looks like Bailey Vitello is just a few miles from Nome. Oh, so that's gotta be feeling good for him. Yeah, Nome is 11:28. He's 11:25. So yeah, 3 miles from Nome. I'm sure he's pretty excited to get to the finish line tonight. And then there's a bit of a gap. Travis Beals is going to be most likely the next team out, or the next team to the finish line. There is a kind of a group of other teams: Mitch, CV, Ryan Reddington, and I think it's just those two guys are behind Travis. So definitely, I'm sure Travis is looking over his shoulder. One of the interesting things for tonight, Riley Dyke and Nick Petit, they're both in White Mountain. But if you look at the standings, if you look at the run times, Nick Petit did the trail from Elam to White Mountain an hour faster than Riley. And Nick Petit is one of those guys that's known for having a really fast finishing time, really fast speed from safety to Nome. So they both got into White Mountain within 10 minutes of each other. So if I were Riley, I'd be looking over my shoulder for Nick, thinking, man, this is gonna be a close finish to round out the top 10. Because right now Riley is sitting in 10th, Nick Petit is in 11th, and I think Nick generally goes pretty quick on that last run from White Mountain to Nome. So that'll be an interesting one once those guys do get off of their 8-hour layover to kind of a battle for the last position in the top 10. So that's a little bit of excitement there. Other than that, Matt Failer is moving down the trail between, he's left Elam, he's headed to White Mountain, so getting closer and closer to his 8. Then there's Laurel Eklund, Anna Barrington, Jason Mackey, Samantha Lalonde, and Emily Ford are all on their way from Koyuk, headed towards Elam. And then 2 more teams on the trail, Calvin Dardery and Connor McMahon are on the ice right now between Shaktoolik and Koyuk. So there's other team. Jenny Rodwig is also on the way to Shaktoolik. So the rest of the teams are resting in the checkpoints. But yeah, there's a handful of teams traveling down the trail right now. One team just about to reach Nome as we're recording this. And yeah, so other than that, everybody's on the coast and on the home stretch of Iditarod.
And one thing to note there, Roan, there is an award out there for the fastest time from safety to Nome. That is one of those special awards that they do give out. So even if you think you're a speed demon, there might be somebody that's a little bit faster than you. And like you said, Nick has won that award a couple of times, I believe. We've been talking about Samantha and Emily the last few days about the
Samantha.
Samantha and Emily.
Sam.
Lalonde.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Samantha.
She likes to be called Sam.
Okay. And Emily for that Rookie of the Year. The last time we mentioned this, Sam was about 20 miles-ish from Emily. That has shrunk quite a bit. It's now only 5 miles. They have about 140 and 145 respectively miles to go. So the race for that Rookie of the Year award is on, and I might be misspeaking, but there is, do they get like the free entry or something next year if they win Rookie of the Year?
I'm not sure of what the award is, me myself having not received it. But the cool thing about the Rookie of the Year award is you really only get one chance to win that award. And I believe if you run the Iditarod and then you scratch, you're not eligible for it the next year, even though you're still considered a rookie. You're no longer in the running for Rookie of the Year.
Right. Yeah, and we had that discussion when we were talking about Brenda Mackey back in our predictions before you came on. I'm looking right now. It does not say anything about the entry. They do get a $2,000 check and a trophy, but like Roan said, the kicker there is you can only do it once. So that's kind of a special award for sure. Michelle, before we talk about what we're doing tomorrow, do you have anything?
No, I had a good time doing trail trivia.
All right, guys, we will be here through Sunday night, through the banquet. I know our sister podcast, our buddies over in Canada that are hosting their own show, the Mushers Checkpoint, are planning on doing their show through Sunday as well. But we will be here tomorrow, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Red Lantern and the Willow's Lamp and a couple of little stories as teams are coming in. And then, of course, the banquet is happening on Sunday. I do not think that everybody's going to be in, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So on behalf of my two co-hosts today, Roan and Michelle, this is Robert. We will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Are you a fan of the great outdoors? Do you enjoy the thrill of speed and adventure? Then listen up. Introducing Mushing, your ultimate guide to the exciting world of dog-powered sports and mushing. Whether you're a seasoned musher or just starting out, Mushing has got you covered. Get ready to immerse yourself in captivating stories of incredible sled dog races, expert training tips from seasoned professionals, and gear reviews to help you make the right choices for your team. From the breathtaking landscapes of Alaska to the snowy trails of Scandinavia, Mushing takes you on a thrilling journey through the world of dog-powered sports. Don't miss out on the latest issue, packed with exclusive interviews with top mushers, in-depth articles on sled dog nutrition, and stunning photography that will transport you to the heart of the action. So whether you're dreaming of competing in the Iditarod or simply want to learn more about this incredible sport, Mushing is your go-to resource. Subscribe now and get ready to unleash your passion for mushing. Visit our website at mushing.com. Find us on your favorite podcast platform. Mushing, where the spirit of adventure meets the power of the pack.